because people are always just pushed in this direction of hustle, more numbers. Like if you want to grow, you got to do this. And people just lay out all the shit you have to do, all the shit you have to do to get big or and like people think that there's some kind of happiness on the other side of that. And it's like, if you're not making any videos that are for you, are about your life, are about the people you love, then like it's going to be tough to really, really, really be happy as an artist, at least.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to season 2 of the 505 podcast. Today we welcome Sam Newton to the show. Sam is a man of many talents, not only a travel filmmaker, but an incredibly talented musician. Sam has seen incredible growth over the last year on YouTube, so much so that he was selected to be an official Canon ambassador. Sam, welcome to the show.
Woo! Oh yeah.
Let's go. Thank you for having me, guys.
Let's go.
I appreciate it.
Okay, well, start us off really strong right now with the one-handed crack challenge. Big shoes to fill. Season 2, and I really want to see what you got in there.
Well, I'm going to lower the bar. You set the bar high. I'm going to lower it for myself. So maybe I'll go for the weakest. And then if I...
if it goes higher. Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So it has to be off.
Has to be off the table. It's the only rule.
Is it a one-hander?
It's a one-hander. Yeah, it's a one-hand thing. The one-handed crack.
2.
Honestly, solid.
No. You know, it wasn't. It had a strong start and a terrible finish. We're gonna give a 3-2 to start the pod. Sam, welcome to the show, baby. Let's go.
Zamboni.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll give you a point.
Flip, flip.
I'm gonna give you an honorary.
Is that the new low?
No.
We've had some NAs.
Zero. We've had some
We've
zeros.
had a few NAs.
People that don't listen and just like crack it right on the thing. See,
He just showed you.
See how
That was solid. So what would that? What would that?
That was a 7 because it wasn't as clean, and also it didn't go back in the same motion. I had to put it on the table. But
Damn, man.
Bunch of rules.
See, I think it really comes down to I hit more of like a side angle.
Yeah.
I think it's
There's a
grip
lot,
strength.
yeah.
A
I think
finger
a
on
lot
the
of grip
end
strength.
really helps.
I'm gonna give you 8-3 just because like 1 point higher than Romo.
How many?
Yeah,
Exactly. Thank you. How many dents have you seen like that though? That's how you know.
That's
it's
pretty
firm
denty right
grip.
there.
Firm
Yeah.
That was
hand
a
grip.
good dent.
Yeah.
That was a good dent.
Strength without finger isolation is what that is. Yeah.
I have like social anxiety when it comes down to like you always know what beer I'm drinking at a party because it will have like a big ass dent in it. Or if I have like the wrapper, I'm the guy who like peels the wrapper while I'm talking to somebody and not know it, and then it's like, oh, where's my beer? I'm like, found it. The one that looks like it's been thrown against a wall.
I'm all right. I'm gonna try this. I always do the
over the laptop. I love the confidence. That's how you know you're
I'm
a
not
pro.
gonna
Don't
You
do
want me
it.
to do it?
Seriously,
Here,
don't do
you're
it.
gonna do it for me?
Don't do it.
I always turn the thing to the side so I know. which-
Dent.
Yeah, you dented it.
These are hard, dude. It's honestly,
That's what I was gonna say. It's the can,
it's
man.
a
Give me a better.
It's a thin aluminum. It's a thin aluminum.
So did you
Delicious.
just get off a plane? Like
2 days ago. Yeah.
2 days ago. How long was this flight?
Okay, so it was broken. I just came from Patagonia, and it was
Subtle
Which is not a jacket company.
Well, it is. It's
no,
both.
it's crazy. Like
a
the
real
fact
place.
that they named an entire place after a clothing
Right.
company is cool. They really fuck with it.
It really speaks to the success of this jacket.
No, I went to Patagonia for a week, but it took 40 hours both ways to get to. So 7-hour flight to Colombia, then like 3-hour layover, then 6-hour flight to Santiago in Chile, then like a 10-hour layover, and then a 4-hour flight from Chile to Punta Arenas, which is like one of the lowest cities in all of Chile, which is like where the Magellan Strait is. It's really sick. And then you take a 5-hour drive from there to get to Patagonia in Chile. So
What's your travel like on a plane? Are we going movies, reading a book?
Neck pillow.
Yeah, what are we doing?
What'd you say your travel game's at? Are you like, do you have it all set up with Clear and pre-check? Are you that
Oh
guy?
yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make,
like global entry.
Okay,
If I didn't
okay.
have that, I mean,
Okay.
I'm gone probably.
you're seasoned.
Yeah, realistically, I'm gone like 3 to 4 months out of the year,
Wow,
like
okay.
in somewhere else. And so if I didn't have TSA
Yeah,
pre-check,
no,
I just was in New York like a month ago, and I don't party that much, but like when I drink, I'm kind of like an addictive personality. So if like I have one beer, it's like, why not have two? And we're in New York, and that turned into like just a night and a half, and I woke up 4 hours later and gone and like had a hangover. I'm pushing 29 now, so my hangovers are not fun, and had this terrible hangover. And I got in and I saw the regular check-in line, and it was like 400 people, not even at JFK. And then the TSA pre-check, I just walked straight in, and I was like so hungover. I almost cried because I was so happy.
It's a vet move.
I was so happy.
Dude, especially when you got like camera stuff. I mean, I used to get pulled like in the regular line. Like
my God.
they'd pull my bag every time because they'd be like, oh, I forgot that battery
Yeah.
or like that drone or whatever, you know? Like you need the pre-check every camera.
Pay the money, get
carrying
pre-check.
cameras.
You were with Jay Ford on the trip.
guy.
How was that whole situation? What were you guys really doing out there?
So we're shooting a project for Canon for a buddy of mine named Chris Baladeras, and I met Chris through Jay.
Okay.
It's actually, so Jay is someone who I knew through the internet, like, and I'd met once or twice before, but I watched his episode on or not the whole episode, but he popped up, you guys posted, and there was a clip of him talking on the podcast, and I was just like, he just looks like a cool ass dude.
Yeah.
He just looks like somebody I would have a conversation with. And then I went and watched the whole podcast from there, and was like, damn, this guy's a legend. And we're doing, basically, I'm a Canon ambassador, like you said. And so if I can find other people that shoot Canon, that like are cool people that I can travel with.
I love Canon.
Do you ever?
Continue, Sam.
Keep it up. No, but if I can find cool people that I enjoy hanging out with that shoot Canon that like can travel, then I try to build my roster. And then it's like, hey, we're doing a trip for Canon, and Jay was one of those people. And I basically was going to shoot a regular travel film out in Iceland. And I was like, yo, you want to come and let's just see how we work together. I'll cover everything. And then he came out, and then within like maybe 2 hours of being in Iceland, I picked him up and like driving out, and he was just telling me a story. And like one of the things he like whispered under his breath, he's like, man, I'm not supposed to be here. And he's like, I was like, what does that mean? And he broke down his whole story, and he's from Palmdale, and he's like, dude, people just don't leave Palmdale. Like when you're from Palmdale, it's a very big bubble. And he was just like so in awe about everything in Iceland. And I've been to Iceland a few times now, so not that it's become numb to me because it's my favorite country, but it's still a little bit, you miss that you'll never get that magic back of visiting a place for the first time. And so seeing it through his eyes and seeing how stoked he was, and it was supposed to just be like a cinematic travel film about Iceland. And I'm like, dude, what if we make it more of a narrative and make it about you? So I changed it, and I didn't tell Canon
Oh, that's
either.
amazing.
So this is like a Canon funded project about Iceland, and I'm like on the trip changing everything I pitched to them, and I'm like, they're gonna like it. I know they're gonna like it. They're gonna like it. And so, but that project did really well, and that's actually releasing. It should be out by the time this is out. It's called Far From Home, and that was legendary. Go watch it. And Jay is just an absolute, he's like one of those few people that you can just go and you know he's a complete professional, but also you can just have fun. And it was like so seamless from the moment I met him. And so we told his story. And then the funny thing is he introduced me to Chris. And Chris posted on his story, like, looking for an R5, and I just landed in the airport. And you know how you guys are LA boys, you know how valuable an LAX pickup is. And so I saw that.
Damn straight.
Fuck LAX, dude.
I saw my opportunity to get that ride, and I was like, yo, you want an R5? I'll let you borrow mine for free if you pick me up from LAX.
That's amazing.
And so he cruised and picked me up. And then this was even crazier than Jay's, where the moment he picked me up, I think I met him like once before. He was at the Alabama Hills thing, but I didn't really talk to him much. And within 15 minutes of this car ride, like it went from never talking to this dude, and then in 15 minutes it was like, can I make a like film about you? That's how crazy Chris's story is. I don't want to get too in detail. His film should be out by now, so you can go watch that one. Yeah, it's good. But his story from like start to finish, he has been in 4 different families, I think adopted 3 different times. He's had 2 different moms pass away, was addicted to alcohol, pills, in and out of jail, all before the age of 23. And then now he's been sober for 5 years in full-time travel photography. And so we went out to Patagonia and told his story. And so now it's like this beautiful wave of being able to take these travel films and this travel niche that I've always done, and then find incredible people that I can tell their story and blend the two. So
That's cool,
Yeah.
man.
That's amazing. I want to get into like how the whole Canon ambassadorship, how that came about, and like how you felt when they reached out to you, because that's a pretty big fucking
That's like everyone's dream job.
Were you like the T6i guy when you started? Is that, or no?
So I started, funny enough, on the Nikon D3300. I know.
Keon just puked in the corner.
Just intern back. have to bleep it out. I started. Oh my god! I started on the D3300 for like a year and a half, so it was funny with all the Nikon bits when people like would look back and see old photos of me with that. So it was funny full circle. But then I went to the GH4. Was Panasonic for like college, and then 2016 is when the 1DX2 came out. And colder, all the beautiful destinations, Peter McKinnon, everybody's rocking the 1DX2. So I was like, dude, this is my first, like, I got to get it. And then that's when I fell in love. So it was about 6 years with Canon.
Nice.
But yeah, the story, it's not as crazy as I would like it to be. It was literally, which I mean, the moment was insane, but just like any other day, you wake up, you check your email, and you're like, all right, let's see what we got. And you go in, you know, just random, you know, subscriptions I've signed up, bullshit that I have to go through. And then there was this like random email from Canon, and all it said was, hey Sam, love your stuff, let's see how we can work. And I was like, okay, cocky email. It's like no effort. And I was like,
Take me out to dinner.
Literally.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's see. And I had to vet the email like without doxing their email system right now. But I was like, okay, is this actually, because it's not like at canon.com,
Right.
you know, so it was like a little bit of a different. And so I'm like, dude, is this their real? And so I went through, went to LinkedIn, went to who reached out to me. I was like, holy shit, this is a real person. And it took me 2 days to actually respond to that email because I was freaking out. I'm like, dude, what? Like, what's going on? And then we hopped on a call, and they were like, hey, full transparency, we're starting this ambassador program where we want to build a team of people that we can like fund their projects essentially, and just like really believe in what they're doing, because Canon's been for so long, they're such a well-respected company, but for the longest time there's a lot of, I think, red tape to jump through, and you have to go through a lot of people to get things approved and naturally. And so they were like, we want to start this ambassador program where we kind of vet the people first and believe in their vision and believe in who they are to represent the brand, and then we can give you funding. So it's like the most ideal dream setup ever. And I'm sitting there like I'm the turtleneck dude from YouTube. And I'm like,
stay creamy, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know why they're reaching out to me, but I hopped on call and they said, we're building this out. You're in consideration for this. And I quickly realized that call was like somewhat of an interview more than just a regular call. And I was like, oh shit. I mean, you know, I'm like, well, I mean, I think I'd be good for something like this. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I had to turn it on quickly. And yeah, it was really, really cool. And then they were like, cool, we'll get back to you in like a month. And then I think 2 weeks later, they're like, hey, can we set up a call? And in that call was like one of those email threads where there's like 10 people. I was like, oh shit. And on that call, I think was like 7 people. And they were all basically just like, hey, we finalized this. We want you to be an ambassador. And I was like shaking, like, oh. And they're like, I'm like, who else is a part of this program? And they're like, Rory Kramer, who I've looked up to since I was like the moment I picked up a camera. Rory shoots for Justin Bieber, the Chainsmokers. Ben Haggerty, who's shot for Alicia Keys and did the Beyonce doc.
Yeah, Black with No Cream.
Yeah, literally did. Yeah, Ben's an absolute legend. There's Miss Hatton, who's an incredible aerial photographer out in New York. Mark Clennon, Raven, Raven shoots for Adele. Basically, every single person in this is like insanely well known. I'm the only one that's not verified. The only one, and so I'm looking at this like iconic lineup of ambassadors, and then my face, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? One of us does not belong. You seen that military?
Yeah.
It's like 4 military guys, and then a clown standing. That's me, and I'm like, I do not belong here, Sam. Keep it cool, keep it. But I kind of, you know, you always got to see the light in every situation, and I was obviously stoked, but you know, the business side of me kicked in. I'm like, all right, all these people are insanely well respected and insanely busy people. My advantage is the reason they came to me is I was on YouTube, and like my videos are different, and you know, I like the brand of Sam Newton where I'm able to like, it's like, oh, what's Sam gonna do next? He always makes interesting stuff, and that's what they liked. And to be lined up against all these people, I knew how busy they were. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to come in fast. Like, I'm going to pitch them something fast. I'm going to deliver this video in a month and throw an entire event around the video. And that's what we did in my event in LA last year for a film I made called Eye of the Storm. And it was like from pitch to concept to finishing the video to having the full-on event, which they've never done. I was like, I'm going to over deliver. And I did it all in like a month and a half to 2 months. And they loved it. And from there, I just kind of set the bar. I'm like, if you guys want something done, I'm the guy to go to. let's keep working. And yeah, it's been great.
What is your process going into making a film like that? Because what you're making now is like full on films with like higher production, a full team. So what does that look like when you like from the inception of your concept, your idea to throwing an event, you know, and premiering like a full on film?
Well, I would love to say I had any kind of like real process that's repeatable, and like that's not my mind at all. I'm very much like a set a deadline for myself. That's why I love like the events and love, because I put that almost I love events. No, I set this deadline for myself, and I love doing that, because when you work for yourself, you have to put that pressure on. And so it's like I set this live event. We're doing another one next month, and set this live event. It's like I'm inviting 300 people. This thing's got to be done. I have to deliver, or else it's going to be a letdown. And so the process for me, I like having a set deadline no matter what. And that way it's like, okay, it's going to be out. It's going to be, and normally that's faster for me than like a traditional filmmakers tend to be perfectionists. And I try to like be very invested in it, but understand when it's time to wrap, when it's time to move on. And so for making any kind of film, for me, the very first thing comes down to like my like emotional connection. I'm a very emotional person. Like if I'm not like, I cry all the time. Like if I'm not at the end of my video, like in tears, whether it's like something that's actually like an emotional video, or it's just like a cool vibey, like it's very weird, my connection with my stuff, where I'm like, because it's a part of your life. You're documenting it. And for me, it's like that weird, I'm not telling fake stories or like fake narratives that I'm building out. It's like my actual life that I'm like documenting, and I see visually my whole life in stages. And like there's different times where I'm like, oh shit, this is a film for Canon, and then it, you know, this is a film for Canon, and it just hits like, I'm working for Canon right now. It's great. And so like if I don't have that kind of emotional connection to what I'm working on, I try not to work on it. Or like if it's comedy, if it's like my songs, or if it's something that I'm making people laugh, like I genuinely want to sit there for a second, like, you know, on my notes app writing, and just be like, that's fucking dumb. Right. Like I need that like very intense emotional connection to whatever I'm making. And then from there, it's like I just build out the song, find the song, write the script first and foremost. And then I'm not really too much of a shot list person. I'm not too much of a shot organizer with travel. It's not too much. I really try to go and capture whatever like genuinely happens, and then fit that into the narrative. And so that's kind of my steps. And man, I'll have a general idea of what I want to shoot. And then every single time that's thrown out the door the moment it gets in the edit. Like the spine is still there, but there's so many different things that pop up, and it just changes. And
that's great. I wanted to ask you, because you're traveling to all these different places, like how much research goes into, I guess, finding the spots that you want to shoot at? Like, are you hitting up local people, hitting up other people that have been there already? Like,
yeah. I mean, Instagram is huge. Having like, even if when I didn't have a huge following, like 10,000 followers or something, and I would just post and be like, I'm going to this country. Does anybody know? And even if it's like local friends from home, it's crazy how small the world gets when you just ask for help. And the amount of times I just post on my Instagram story, like, yo, looking for this, anybody know? And when people see it, it's like, oh, they might not know, but they know somebody who knows, and then you get connected. And so when I go to these places, I try my best to find like local people to just be like, hey, this is who I am, what I'm doing. If they know me, great. If you guys want to meet up, let's go on a hike. Let's do. But yeah, dude, the best part about travel for me is I'm able to go places with very little research and just like figure it out, right? You get there, you're at you're at a hotel, and you talk to somebody, you see somebody who's like kind of walks in the hotel, and they're like really like Patagonia walks in the hotel, and their boots are all fucked up, and you're like, oh, where'd you guys just come from? And they're stoking let me tell you this hike, right? It's super small. And then that's when you get this like experience that, you know, and I try to find that balance of not going like super underprepared, but like when you go over prepared, I'm just not a rigid person. I'm very like a little bit too go with the flow, where my shit can get all over the place sometimes. But that's where the true like for me and the way my mind works, like the true beauty of what I can create lives in, because I go to these places, I fall in love with them like in a very natural, organic way, and then I'm like you guys have known the feeling. You have your camera, you're in this spot that you're like, you can Google Patagonia all you want, but when the sun's setting over those mountains, you're like, oh my God. And then you're trying to think of a shot list in your mind. What shot do I want? I know we thought about this scene. And you're like, fuck. And then you just hit record, and then you have 3 hours of the sunset because you're like, what did I want?
Right.
And then you take it all in the edit. And I'm still like that to this day. Like, that's how I started when I was traveling. I fell in love with it. And still to this day, like 8 years later of traveling, like I'm like every single time when the crazy sunset's happening, my organization goes out the window, and like I should be a professional director. Like, guys, we need this wide and then tell the story. And I'm like, no, Sam, we need 3 hours of the same shot over and over, but just with the sunset getting a little bit more orange in the back.
Dude, that's literally, I'm so the same. Like, I'm like, this shot is sick. This is the shot, and I'll just get it 100 times. So like, I'll push it. And that's like, I talked to this guy. I was telling you, the director guy told me, he's like, once you get this shot, you got to move on. That was like his big advice to me. And I was like, have you seen my work or something? Like,
Never.
how did you know?
I want to get the shot once and then be like, oh wait, this guy got a little bit better. Hold on, let's get it again.
And then you always end up going with like the last shot because you're like, that had to be like the best one.
right,
like
right.
I nailed it.
Especially with sunsets, because they just get better and better.
I do love what you said though about setting a deadline for yourself. I think that's something I need to implement more into my personal life. I don't know how you guys are with it, but like I feel like as humans, the amount of time we're allocated to perform a specific task, we're going to take that amount of time.
For sure.
So it's like if you don't set a deadline for yourself, you're kind of like, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it, whatever. Like that's why we all procrastinate in school. It's like the essays due at the end of the semester, but you wait until the night before to finish it. And you always end up getting it done. So like setting those deadlines, I feel like is crucial.
Dude, but how many people, when you ask for their best work, and like if you're watching this right now and you're asking yourself, like when people ask you for your best work as a creator, a filmmaker, a photographer, 9.5 times out of 10, somebody's best work that they send in is going to be a client project. It will not be a personal project. It will not be a passion project. It will not be something that they just went out. And the reason is you have that outside pressure. You have like somebody looking down on you with a date, with expectations, with all these things. But then the moment you have a personal project, that shit gets thrown out the window. And then you're like, oh, I'm really passionate about this. And then you look at it for 5 seconds. And then you're like, I'm going to check my email one more time. Oh, look, a client. I'm going to go do that. And then you just keep ignoring. And so that's what, like one of the biggest like muscles you have to train yourself as an entrepreneur, especially when it comes to, because like people can be entrepreneurs and work for other people or do client work, and like you're still technically working for yourself, but you still have that client. It's a muscle you have to train yourself if you really want to work on like passion projects, if you really want to work on projects that you love. And that's something I always try to preach on my YouTube channel. Like everybody just, it's hustle grind, clients, get the bag, but like, how often do people stop and they're like, I'm going to clear 2 weeks and just make a project I'm really, really proud of? Because more often than not, when you do that, that will lead to more stuff like that. And people will see that and people will recognize that. So it's just really a muscle you have to train, where it's like, I'm going to set aside X amount of time, give myself a deadline, and my passion project will be released by this date. Because with passion projects, you don't have that client breathing down your neck, so you don't have a date. And so the amount of people watching this right now who probably have a passion project that's 50% done and has been for 8 months, it's like you have to say it's done in a month, no matter what, and do it.
Dude, Babin said that. Babin said that the deadline makes you creative. I remember when he said that on the show, I'm like, there was a professor somewhere that he would make their final due. He would like, they'd walk into class and he'd be like, you guys have 48 hours to do the term final. And he's like, get it done, make it happen. And they'd all turn in like these amazing, insane projects. Like, you're going to wait till the last minute anyway. So we'll do this and the rest of the term we'll learn. And it's just like, I believe that. I think that if you put yourself in this box, like, hey, this has to get done, you're going to make something spectacular. I agree with you. I think that's awesome.
There's about 15 things on my to-do list that I need to set deadlines for, which I will right after this podcast.
It's never going to be as good as you want it to be, because that's just how it works. But the best part about it, and like how I view it, and I'm in this weird niche of like travel film, YouTube, and so I have to post enough to be relevant, but I really don't want to post like too fast where my shit isn't like original, and I want my films to be well fleshed out. And so I'm like right in that middle ground of like, I have to set a deadline, but I also have to give myself enough time to make it special. And so for me, I just have to make sure that the deadline is like just fine, like that perfect in between where I can give it the time that it needs and then give it the energy that it needs. And then there's this beautiful middle ground of like, if I wait too long on this passion project, then what it really does is you tell yourself like, I want to make this perfect, but you lose so many opportunities of so many other passion projects you can work on. The reason why I'm a full-time travel filmmaker, which is something like a lot of people are like, oh, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. It's because I made travel videos and I made like a good amount of high quality travel video. And so like every 2 months there would be one coming out. And before I was ever paid for them, I would just be like, yeah, I'm a travel filmmaker. This is what I do. This is what I do. And then over time, after 3 years, it's like that muscle in your brain. I was able to make so many, and these were all passion projects. They were never sponsored. They were never paid for. I'd be filming weddings and then going on a travel trip and never telling anybody about my wedding company. And then after a while, it was just like, yeah, I'm a travel filmmaker. It's what I do. And then slowly but surely, it's like the projects went from $500 to $1,000 and $1,000 to $5,000 and $5,000 to 400 grand, which is what I just made. Just kidding. Like,
let's go.
No, not even close. But one day.
I want to ask, because you did weddings. Like, I want to ask about before making that leap, full-time YouTuber, which is, I think, so many kids' dreams. Like, what were you doing to fund your lifestyle, like just your life?
Yeah. So my big switch, just like most people, I was a freelance, a jack of all trades. I did everything, right? And that's a great way to figure out what you want to do, who you are, you get your style. The first couple of years at least, doing everything, whatever any client. I had no direction. It's like whatever email or whatever friend sent me, and it's like, hey, this person's developing an app. I filmed like a surgery from UC Davis. I went to UC Davis, and they're the medical center, and I did like a nose surgery for a doctor. I did basically I did everything. If you look at my Vimeo, I have 687 videos that I posted on my Vimeo. And it's just mind blowing to me that I'm like, how did I make that many videos? Crazy. But the first 2 years I did everything. And then it kind of clicked in my head my senior year where we planned a travel trip and we started getting together some sponsors for the trip. First time I ever left the country besides Mexico. And we got like 3 sponsors after emailing like 1,000 companies. And these 3 sponsors, we got the European Rail System, we got Wombat City Hostel, and we got this clothing company called Calibus, which is like a weed clothing brand. And they were the only ones that paid us $500. And then we got a free place to stay and free travel with the train. And then this is when I sucked, but it clicked in my mind. I'm like, this is possible. Exactly. And that's when I made that really hard. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it. But it's not possible to live off $500 in travel. So I created I had a wedding business on the side that I never talked about. Like I didn't brand, like none of my friends had, it was like a separate brand name, and weddings, it's just super easy, great money. And you do one good wedding and that books, you don't have to advertise yourself. It's just, you do one good wedding and they have 10 other friends getting married. And so I would charge like $3,000 a wedding, and do, I don't know, 10 weddings in a summer, make a good amount of money, and then go travel for 3 months, and no one ever knew about the weddings, and they just thought I was a travel filmmaker. And then slowly, it's just as important to convince yourself as it is to convince the world. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm a travel filmmaker. I'm a travel filmmaker. And then now everybody in the world just sees me as a travel filmmaker, and all my friends from back home, like, damn, Sam's really doing this. And then in their mind, it's like, you don't have to try to fake it. It's like, oh, this is what he does. This is who he is. And then, if anything comes up to the people that do follow, you're like, oh, we need someone in the travel space. You're like, immediately like, I know a guy, Sam, he's a travel filmmaker. He always talks about, instead of, if you want to be a travel filmmaker and then you do 15 other things, then you're not really, then you maybe have one travel film. And that's like the biggest thing. You can never be a music video director if you don't direct music videos. You can never be a travel filmmaker if you don't make travel films. You can never be, you have to make something, whether it's a spec ad, passion project for free. You have to have something in order to prove to someone that you're worth being paid that money.
You got to believe it before anybody else believes it. You got to tell yourself, like, I'm like, for anyone out there that's like, oh, I'm an inspiring filmmaker. You see that in bios like all the time. It's like, you're a filmmaker. You're a filmmaker now. This is what you do. And I think when you'll start to make decisions.
Oh, you said aspiring.
Aspiring.
No,
not inspiring. No, aspiring.
You see that everywhere. Whenever you imagine my bio, I'm an inspiring filmmaker, bro.
Watch this and be inspired.
I'm so fucking inspired. Sorry.
No, you're good. good. But
Never been more inspired.
Never been more inspired for this. They have to believe it before, you'll start making choices in your day and in your week that will get you closer to said goal. If you're like, oh, I'm a filmmaker, like, okay, what do filmmakers do? They probably make some films this week. So I need to write down 3 videos and make them and actually make it happen. And I think people see like, you'll start to get dubs in the right direction.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you could like feel yourself like getting better at the whole making videos? Like you said, senior year, you were like, I did it and I sucked. But like, was there like a holy shit, I like am getting pretty sick at this?
No. Then I'll explain.
Okay.
No, in the best way possible. Holy shit, I suck when I look back in it. I had, for some reason, and it's like a blessing and a curse, I always thought my shit was awesome. Me too. I always, dude.
Even the chemistry vid.
Oh yeah. Dude. We can go deep. Like from the moment
we went deep. We went all the way down to 12 years ago on the YouTube channel.
Which is bad because you could watch. I'll watch myself and I'm like, dude, I was such a douchebag.
They're great to have though. Those are great to have. You can look. They're a scrapbook of your life. We got Sam Newton's life from the time he was running for class president. Like he's like rapping like in the sunrise. Like,
but I was always feeling myself. Yeah, dude. The
red ones. That was so funny.
I borrowed them from a friend who had them, and I had other shoes on, and they were like size 11, so they barely fit.
Huge.
So in the scene, we're like, what if I'm like, what if they're hanging over my? Like for some reason, that was the
raps have gotten like way better.
Yeah.
Way better. That was amazing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've always really, really like thought my stuff was good, and that incrementally, like I noticed myself getting better, but for it's easy, super easy where I was blessed to start with no intention of doing this as a job. I picked up a camera just because my friends and I wanted to film like the videos we're talking about. I made a song about my chemistry teacher. I ran for class president and lost. I made a rap, probably why I lost. But these were all videos I just made because it was just like me and my friends had a camera and we're like, fucking, well, wouldn't it be funny if we, it would be really funny if we just went out. And we just did that. And there was and like when a video got 200 views on YouTube, it's like, oh shit, this has 14 comments on Facebook. This is popping right now. And I had that blessing of just genuinely loving what I was doing and making it with friends like when you had the pressure of social media. And so that was kind of a nice place to start. And then from there, I noticed myself getting better, but I always thought, and then I was always a big fish in a small pond. So Davis was, there were very few filmmakers. I didn't know I wanted to be a filmmaker until I went to college. And Davis had very few filmmakers. It's an agricultural science school. And so I was always the video guy. And so I always thought I was really good, but obviously kids were better at SC and UCLA, but that was an advantage to me because instead of getting down on myself being like, damn, there's so many people better and getting caught in the comparison trap, I had no one to compare myself to. And so it was me versus me, and it was great because I always thought I was awesome and they sucked. They were really bad. But if you have that weird belief in yourself, it carries and it lasts and it sticks with you.
You make that travel video in 2016, but you're still doing the weddings. When do you get to make that shift to full-time YouTuber?
So there was 3 stages. There was full-time travel filmmaker, not YouTube at all, and then there's full-time YouTubers.
And this is like working for brands, and,
yes,
and like taking their stuff with you overseas.
Exactly. So basically, it was like jack of all trades was step 1, and step 2 was like, oh, I want to travel and make money. How can we do this? We reached out to brands, and I was lucky. It clicked pretty early in my mind where I was like, it doesn't matter how much we're getting paid. All that matters is that we have a website with client, and like people see that people are working with us. That's all that matters. And still to this day, it's so important to have like a real, and you're only as good as your last like best piece of work. And you can have a website with 40, like how many people you've seen, and they're like 40 projects. When was the last time you went to somebody's website and watched 40 things?
Right.
All you need is like 4 videos. That's it. And if they're sick, they're gonna be like, cool, we'll pay you. And that clicked where I'm like, cool, I just need a good website. And so my first leap was to full-time travel videography, and that was very slow. It wasn't like now it's just travel, because it was just weddings would fund it, and every now and then I'd take a big corporate gig or something and that would fund the travel. But I did that for a year and got paid next to nothing for the travel. But then the next year is when I met my buddy Luke Jackson Clark, and he's one of the best travel photographers ever, and he's also one of the coolest people I know. And we met at a hostel in Thailand, literally just out of the blue. And he started talking about what he wanted to do. And it was the first time I met somebody else that wanted to be a travel creator. This was in 2017 maybe. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. This is what I want to do. And he did photo, I did video, and we came up with this concept of starting a company together because he was 19 at the time. Nobody respected, like, if Sam Newton wanted to make a video for Shangri-La hotels, it's like, oh, I don't want. But if Move to Create, the travel, that was our travel agency,
Make an LLC,
exactly, travel media conglomerate, which was really just me and Luke. Yeah, and we had a
prestige worldwide, wide.
As long as you make it sound good, but genuinely. And then all these little business things, and I had this girl Alyssa, who worked on our first trip in Iceland with us, and she reached out to all the brands and all the companies, and it worked really well. But then Alyssa went and did her own thing, and we had the email Alyssa at movetocreate.us. And so I'm like, well, I'll be Alyssa for a little while. And so I would reach out to make our team feel and look bigger. People would reach out and then connect with Alyssa. And I'm like, let me forward you all along to Sam, our founder, and then forward the email to myself and be like, oh, awesome. This is so great. Let's set up a meeting and just do whatever it could as a 23-year-old to make it look like a big deal.
I had Monica at BFIGGY.com, and Monica was my executive assistant. And I was Monica sending out all these emails, and they'd be like, Monica and Alyssa, baby. And then I remember I go to this meeting with this client. He goes, "Where's Monica?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" And I blinked. I go, "Oh, she's on vacation. She's off for the day, but she's doing great. She's having a baby." Like what?
That's the Key and Peele sketch where he's like ordering pizza and he's like, "Who wants a pizza?" And the pizza guy's like, "I feel like me and Monica, we have a bond." And it's like, "Oh my God, she's shot. She's dead."
Monica and Alyssa just absolutely crushing emails. That's amazing. I think you should. Everyone should do that.
I could just imagine you like opening your computer up and checking your email in the morning and be like, "Oh man, what is this new email I got?"
Right. Yeah, from Monica.
Forwarded by yourself.
Yeah. So that only lasted for like 6 months, and then Luke and I were like, "Let's take this more and more seriously." And that's when I made the leap full time. Like, I am a travel filmmaker now. I'm cutting I'm not doing any other projects unless it's paying me to get on a plane and go somewhere.
Was that scary that first year that you made that leap, or were you like, okay,
yes and no? I want to say yeah, but at this point I was so deep into it that I'm like, it was kind of scary, but it was also like this is what I'm doing.
Yeah,
there's nothing else. I loved it so much, and I'm like, we're figuring this out. And that was the benefit of having Luke. I had somebody else who also had that blind faith, like, we're gonna figure this out, and we did it together. We did that for 3 years, and we went from like making $500 water bottle commercials and just doing anything we could for a free flight to making like, $15,000 brand campaigns for photo, video, $20,000, and that was really hitting. And we had like maybe $200,000 worth of projects lined up at the beginning of 2020.
Oh no, dude.
And so we had this fat trip. We were going to go to Guatemala, London, down to South Africa, and then across into Asia. And it was going to be like this 3 month. We had so many clients lined up, and then boom, the pandemic Lovato came in and just and that's when it hit me. And then I had all this footage, and we were locked indoors. I'm like, I'm going to start. I had travel videos, and I had already picked up a little bit of my YouTube audience because I made a really big travel cliche My Year video that I did. That picked up. And so by the time the pandemic hit, I had like 19,000. If YouTube wasn't anything I really wanted to do, I wanted to do travel. I had my company, and I wanted to just do full-time travel videography and get paid by clients. But then this came around where everything shut down, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna make some YouTube videos. And I made like 3 or 4 right as it happened. I made this rap called Cameraman. I made a Super 8 New Zealand travel video, and I made, what was the other one? I made one other, but all 3 of them like popped off. And like, for me at least, like they all had like 50K views in 3 months. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, YouTube's a real thing. And that's when I started getting, I'm like, dude, there's a real, and then I got my first like brand deals like rolling in. I'm like, oh, you can make money doing this. And that's when it hit me that summer of, was it 2020? Or no, the following summer, 2021, was when I had picked it up. I think I got like 50,000 subscribers. We were like, travel was kind of opening up again, and it was like a weird, and I had been just living by like random projects here and there. And then I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to do YouTube, I have to do YouTube. And I haven't taken, since the moment I'm like, I'm a YouTuber now, I have not taken a single client project that isn't connected with my YouTube. So like if I get reached out and like, hey, we have this commercial, it was just an immediate no. Unless it's involved in my YouTube somehow, some way, and no matter how big it was, like I'd try to pass on the project to a friend of mine or something, but I had to just say no because I'm like, this will take 3 weeks of my time, and sure, I'll make 20 grand or sure, I'll make 15 grand, but that's 3 weeks of a video that I wouldn't be making. And so I made that hard decision, and it's paid off in dividends.
Hell yeah.
So you're a little over 100,000 subs right now, like 128, I think, something like that. So when you're at 50, are you making them every single week? Like, did you have a deadline for yourself, or like, I need to make something every 2 weeks? Like, what was your audience kind of expecting? At that time?
So I like, my YouTube advice is not necessarily good YouTube advice in terms of like growth, because my YouTube advice is shit the algorithm hates. My videos are very unpredictable. I'll go from like a funny rap song to a very serious travel video to like an office tour video. It's like you never really know what's coming next, but like the same thing that isn't doing all this. It's
getting closer to you every time you talk.
The same thing that is like bad for the algorithm is like the same thing that I think makes my channel kind of special, where it's like I genuinely don't know what the next Sam project's gonna be, but that's what's allowed me to build a connection with my audience. It's, I think, a lot better than a lot of people's, where, you know, you see people that might get 100,000 views on their office tour video, and you scroll down, it's like 520. Yeah, exactly. And it's just it doesn't really feel like too much of a community as much as just like feeding what the algorithm wants. And so that was one of the biggest things where it didn't pay off in terms of like amazing growth. About to say fat growth. I don't know. Fat fucking growth. But it did pay off because like that's the kind of stuff Canon brought up in the meeting, where they're like, Sam, you're doing it differently. And then that's something you have to remind yourself, even if the numbers aren't there, people notice when you even make an attempt to do something remotely different. And like, most people aren't commenting, most people aren't sending you DMs, and those are like the reassuring, like, oh, this is working. But even if it's something that you really believe in, if you do something like, for me, my music is so dumb, or my travel videos are something that I'm really passionate about, but people notice when it's just like, ooh, he's doing it. Yeah. Like, and people take notice of that. And that's really clicked when I was in kind of a weird spot when Canon hit me up, and out of the blue, I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Canon. Like I'd grown like 500 subscribers in 2 months. My YouTube channel was kind of stagnant. I didn't know where I wanted to go. And yet Canon reached out. And so that's like my biggest advice for upcoming YouTubers. You can find kind of like something that works as a middle ground, where you have consistency. But I have no posting schedule. It's just like, what's the project I want to work on right now? And now how can I integrate that into my channel and make it original and make it me and make it feel good?
Do you feel like that helps with burnout? The fact that you don't have a set schedule, like every Wednesday at 10 a.m. I'm putting out a video.
I mean, burnout's gonna happen no matter what, because like after a while, if you do anything enough, it hits you where you're like, oh, this is a job. And so like even I think this past summer, there was a time where I had, I took on way too many like YouTube deliverables. And it was quickly like, oh shit, it wasn't as much like I need to post every Monday, but it was like, I have this due. I need to get it done by the end of the month, but I also have to go to this. And so it was like the walls were closing in on me, and I wasn't able to make like those truly Sam videos. And so this year, with the support of like the sponsors that I do have, I was just like, hey, I can't do like a video a quarter. I can't do a video every other month. I will pitch you guys. When I have a video ready, I will tell you, and you guys can say yes or no on whether or not you want to sponsor. That's how I'm going to do it from here on out. And like, it's so much better. Oh, yeah. And I have the liberty to do that now that my channel's gotten a little bit of traction, which is amazing. But yeah, I think taking that pressure off yourself is nice in a little bit.
Yeah, that's sick. I want to talk about 2 things specifically about your YouTube is the rapping.
Yeah, love it.
Like, been a rapper forever.
Yeah, when are we gonna see you on the XXL?
Is that a thing still?
I don't know.
Now you're aging yourself.
They need to get you on there.
But yeah, when did you how'd you get into like the rapping thing, and like how did that idea to like make music? I mean, I know you did it in high school and stuff, just like for class projects and fun. But like, when were you like, I'm gonna go balls to the wall and make a full blown like sick music video?
Yeah, so basically in high school, it's all my friends and I did. We would get in the minivan, we'd smoke weed, and we'd have freestyle battle, you know? We'd be like, oh, and that's when I was like 16 years old, and quickly realized on like a Still Dre instrumental that I was like, oh, and people like, when you're high and you're 16, everything's funny, and you just rhyme bat with cat, and all your friends are like, oh! Main band's rocking, it was hype, but that's when I like realized, I'm like, okay, cool, I got a love of flow. And then we made those songs, like these stupid songs. We made a song about my chemistry teacher. We made a song about In and Out. We made a song about like me being president, and it was just fun, man. We were just having so much fun. We weren't thinking about like what we were doing. It was just like, this is stupid.
Right.
This is fun. Let's make it. And so we went out, we made those things. And then in college, I picked up a camera for the first time, and I was really, really nervous about being seen as like the dorky rap kid. Because my freshman year, I made a song, cringiest song I've ever made in my life. It is nowhere to be found on the internet. You will not find it. Maybe you will if you do enough deep research, but it's called, it was like the UC Davis rap. And I made a rap about my college, and it was just like, it was like a catchy song. It was creative, but there were so many just very cringy things that happened. And I'm like, very quickly, I'm like, I do not want to be the rapper kid. I'm done with this. And this is like in the era of like Hoodie Allen and Asher Roth and like just
the college
corny
rap.
white rapper dudes. And I was making more like comedic. I wasn't trying to be like a frat rapper, but it's still like I caught myself luckily like a little. I'm like, don't do this. And I'm like, I just want to be the filmmaker. And then I stopped making music for about 4 years. And then I had this beautiful moment where the stars aligned, where, I was established in the camera world and finally a filmmaker. But then I was like, dude, I haven't made songs in a while. And I wanted to make a song. And I went to my buddy's house and I'm like, let's just chop something up. And that's when I made Content Creator Anthem. And it was just a stupid song we made in like 4 hours probably, and I just wanted to post it and be like, this is fun. And I posted that, and it just immediately like was everywhere, and just getting DMs from so many people I respect. You're like, dude, this is hilarious. I'm like, oh, this is a cool. Then the business side of me, it always clicks. I'm like, this is a great opportunity to get in, like, to get my name in front of really important people who own cameras. And so I saw that as like this cool little like way to get into the right people. And I made Content Creator Anthem, cameraman, shoots on Nikon. I made a handful of just songs about cameras, which are really weird, and no one's going to do it. No one else can do it, and it set myself apart, and that allowed me to, at the very least, if people don't know who I am, a lot of times if you own a camera, you're like, oh, I've seen that. Oh, you're the guy, the dude Peter McKinnon song. You made that, or you made the potato and icon thing. That's hilarious, and it starts to click. And I saw that as like a business way to like, I'll make this music and then people will find me, and it won't just all be Little Dicky songs. They'll find me, and then from there they'll click on my next video and be like, what?
Right.
Oh my
This is a
gosh,
really
he
cool
actually
film,
shoots stuff, and he has a serious side to him, and he can make serious content besides just wearing a turtleneck and rapping. And those beautifully meshed together to build the Sam Newton brand where it is now, and it's been a cool journey.
You talked about the Peter McKinnon video, and we've all seen that video. So I think a lot of people try to. I wouldn't call it a jab in any way, but like people try and like talk about said YouTuber, and you did it in the most like creative and fun way possible. And then he ended up seeing it, reacted to it. Like, talk to us a little bit about that moment of like you coming up with this idea. Peter sees it, you're like, holy shit! He reacted to my video on his channel with. His channel's massive. Like,
over 5 mil.
Yeah, over
Almost,
like right, a little
6.
over 5 million. Like, that's insane. Like, just talk to us about that idea, kind of how that came to life, and you putting that out, because that's, I mean, you're talking about someone that's massive in the space. They see the video, they're like, I love this. This is like incredible. You know?
Yeah. So I had made that decision that previous summer. I'm going to do full-time YouTube. Right. I was like, I'm doing YouTube, and so I knew if I was going to do YouTube, I was like, okay, what? And I'm sitting down. That as opposed to like when I started, it was just me and my friends, like, this is fun, this is crazy. Everything from that, like the moment I started YouTube, everything's been like trying to be somewhat strategic with it. And with the Peter thing, I went full time into YouTube. I'm like, what can I do to make a splash? I'm going full time into YouTube. What can I do to just, the very least, have people know who I am, And then I can figure it out from there. And I was like, who's the guy? Peter's the guy. He's always been the guy, and I've looked up to Peter for a very long time. I'm like, all right, what can I do to, get Peter's attention? So maybe Peter just knows who I am / the algorithm would just link our channels, right? People who watch Peter McKinnon might also like Sam Newton. And so that was kind of the idea behind it, because I'm like, all right, a lot of his audience is going to watch it. He'll maybe notice it. Maybe best case scenario, he'll like post it on his Instagram story with a haha. And I posted that video. And for those of you who don't know, it's like a rap about Peter McKinnon that I made just to kind of get his attention. It's diss track is not the right word, because like I said, I tried to make it kind of tongue in cheek, but I made the song within an hour and a half of posting that on YouTube. Not even kidding. Peter was in my DMs and I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Yes. Hour and a half. And he was like, dude, that was hilarious. That was so, and I was like shaking at this point in time. And it's just like when there was this moment where like everybody in the filmmaking world was seeing this video and it was like cocaine, because I was like refreshing notifications, new followers, like, yes, this is what it will always be like. It will never not be like this anymore.
I'm juiced up, bro.
And he said that, and then I was like, this is awesome. I connected with him, and then like 2 or 3 days later, he sent me a message that says like, look out for a PM reacts. And I was like, what the fuck? And like 4 or 5 days after that, I'm thinking like he's gonna make a reaction video of him react, like he did reaction videos of him reacting to like a bunch of different videos. So that's what I'm thinking. Like he's gonna go through and like
10,
mine will be in the list. And then I wake up and immediately Chase Viken, who was my roommate at the time, like barges in. He's like, yo. And I'm like, what? He's like, YouTube now. I was like, what? And I'm like in my underwear at the time, and we're sitting just sitting there on my desk, like looking at my computer, and Peter just made a whole like 10-minute video as an absolute legend and just shouted me out and said like, hey, this guy's doing it right. Go to his channel, go check it out. And that was like such an intense, like I felt, very few times in life do you like point to a moment and be like, that day changed everything. And it changed everything. Yeah, it was crazy. Got like 30,000 subscribers from Peter in the course of like 2 weeks. Wow. It was one of his better, that video performed really well, because it was like it was like I got called out, and you see him like so it was like it looked intense and it looked and so a lot of people clicked on it, and it was very, very well received, and most people understood the tongue-in-cheek joke. And then from there it was like, oh shit, now there's a lot of pressure on my channel.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what do you follow that up with? What was the video that you
I followed that up with another song actually, which was a like Christmas. It was called Gear Doesn't Matter, and that one did pretty well too. And it was just kind of like this funny like play on how people say gear doesn't matter while shooting it all on
camera.
Yeah. And then Eric Floberg stole my idea and posted a Gear Doesn't Matter video a month later. Eric, I'm calling you up.
Oh, shots fired.
I fucking love Eric. No, I mean, that song called Gear Doesn't Matter, just kind of tongue in cheek, making fun of people that thought, and that did pretty well. But then I caught myself and I'm like, don't buy into this. Like, and that's where I was like, you know, it's always going to be this great. It's always going to, so many people are going to love you. And I caught myself after that next video, because that was kind of in that same realm. It was like a funny camera song. So the people that subscribe from Peter, it's like, oh, look, this is pretty, we're just going to get a bunch of this now. And that's it. Right. And everything will be great. And that next video I made, I was like, I have to slow it down. I think I made it like Things Are Changing. And it was just like a road trip video with me voicing over where I was in my life and like filming just like a little, and just telling people like, this is crazy, this is wild, but this isn't all I make. I make other things, and like, yes, you'll still get those fun videos, but like I have to stay true. They might not perform as well, but I have to stay true to the videos that I want to make, because if I don't, then I'm just going to get lost in the ether and just start throwing shit that gets the claps, and then I'm a monkey dancing.
Right.
How do you feel like you've built your community on YouTube? Because like we talk a lot to people about, oh, like, you know, they're like, oh, I want to get like a community of people. I'm like, okay, well, you need to put out content that's going to like resonate with those people and that stuff that you stand behind. So how do you feel like, you said you feel really in tune with, you know, your community, and like you see, I was reading your comments, like they're really positive comments, which on YouTube is, you know, can be surprising.
Right.
So I think that's awesome. And I see like you comment back to them and stuff. You're like, you're interacting with them. How do you feel like you've kind of nurtured that relationship with your audience?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to, as you know, cliche as it sounds, like trying to make the videos that you really, really want to make. And it's undeniable when you do that. Like when I talk about at the beginning, I'm like, I'm an emotional guy. And so I want to make videos that like I know if I make a video that at the end I'm like hitting export and I'm like sitting back like, oh fuck, like I know there's gonna be other people in the world that connect with that. And if I make a funny video that I'm genuinely, and if I don't feel, and I've made plenty of videos that you can tell like I'm like that wasn't what I needed to make at the time, and I wasn't super inspired, and you could tell which one's like, holy shit, Sam poured his heart into this, like, and I think for me that's, what was the original question one more time?
I think I was just talking about how you nurtured the relationship.
Oh yeah, community.
Community.
And so for me, people can notice that, and they kind of like connect with that side of somebody where they're like, this is somebody's doing something that they want to do, and that's really cool. And I've always really wanted to keep that as like my North Star. It's like I'm doing stuff that I really want to do, and people connect with that, as opposed to somebody might be popping off because their reels are going insanely viral, but you know, it's just the good night 2022 dude Coldplay song, and you know, not that there's anything wrong with that, but like if that's all you make, sometimes I think you separate that person from like the machine. And so I've been able to cultivate this community of like trying to create stuff that really matters to you. And I always preach that, like, what do you really want? What passion project do you really want? What represents who you are? Go out and make that. You don't have to do that all the time, but just once or twice a year, make one project. And that's like what I always try to preach to people, because people are always just pushed in this direction of hustle, more numbers. Like if you want to grow, you got to do this. And people just lay out all the shit you have to do, all the shit you have to do to get big or get, and like people think that there's some kind of happiness on the other side of that. And it's like, if you're not making any videos that are for you, are about your life, are about the people you love, then like just, it's going to be tough to really, really, really be happy as an artist, at least. So I just want to make sure people in my community always have that, where it's like once or twice a year, make one thing. Just make one thing. Spend a couple weeks with your dad and interview him and talk about your hometown. Spend a couple weeks with a friend that has a cool story and make that video, even if it's a video about yourself and where you are in your life right now, because it's a win-win. You get a video that means a lot to you. People will then connect that. / if it doesn't do well and people don't fuck with it, you now have I did an interview with my grandma, and she's about to die. So I did this interview with my grandma like 3 years ago, and I can do that. And it's really cool because I have this interview with my grandma talking about life, talking about all this shit. And now she's about to die. And it's like, I'll always have that video and I can talk about it like this and I can fucking feel it. And it's really cool. And so like, if people can go out and make videos like that they genuinely feel something about, it doesn't matter how well they do. And I think people will resonate with that. And that's why I'm able to build somewhat of a community. And that's trying to be a little bit different.
No, I think that's beautiful, man. And I'm like, thank you for being vulnerable here with us. Seriously, like I can feel it in the stuff that you make. Like I saw an Instagram story that you did the other day, and you were talking about how like people are feeding the machine. Like you were talking about like TikTok or something. How like you're seeing just, you know, trend chasing, and like your stuff is so the opposite of that. And I think you've done such a good job at like staying true to yourself and like making the things that you want to get paid to make. Like you're just making videos that you find, you know, passion in, and like I can feel it in your work, and I think your community can definitely feel that.
I appreciate it. And like I don't ever want to bat, like, because I'm trying to figure out a way to make my reels work, and there's a way to lean into it, but like if you're gonna do TikTok, if you're gonna do reels, you can make as many trendy reels to blow up as possible, but just all my only ask of like artists and creators is just keep making sure you remind yourself, like, okay, what intention as an artist do I have? Like, what can I make to make myself happy, to fuel myself as an artist that will then last, that I can look back on and choke up on over a podcast and be like, that was dope. That was really cool. And a film that really, you know, film, photography, whatever it is you're doing, just making sure you're doing that, because I think we're getting so much more lost in this world of like more and more and more fast, and people really, really connect on like a community level to like people that make stuff that's close to them.
I also think the videos that you do, like some of my favorite things that you do is just like sit in front of the camera with a microphone and just talk. Yeah. Like it's not like a travel film or whatever. And like that just feels so authentic. And even just like sitting down with you talking today, like how you come off in your videos is exactly how you are in real person. At least that's what I'm getting from this conversation. I think like kudos to you. And I just want to give you your flowers, because like it's really hard to be your full authentic self. And of course, I think like whenever there's a camera pointing in your face, you're always going to be a little bit like, you know, have a little bit of a filter or whatever. But I think you do a very good job of like coming off as yourself on camera and like bringing your authentic self to your content.
I appreciate that. And it wasn't like, you can still, like, you guys went deep into, if you go deep enough to my YouTube channel, you can find videos where I'm like at the end being like, you should subscribe, and it's awful. Like there's a UC Davis video on my channel right now, and at the end I send people like facebook.com/Sam Newton Media, and you can see how bad I am. And so like it really is you have to do it, and you have to do it for a long enough period of time to the point where once the camera's recording, you don't have to think about like, okay, it's recording, here I am. And like one little tip to people, I always try it, like when you're making YouTube videos, people always think of it like, oh, thousands of people might see this, I'm gonna make this video for 1,000 people. Those like talking to the camera ones, I try to think of it as like, I'm talking to one person. Like, cause this is just me and you right now. Who's the one person? Like if it's a friend I'm trying to talk to, how would I then talk to them? How would I just talk to one person right now? And it takes so much pressure off when I'm just hit record then, because it's just like, oh, what's up, dude? Okay, so this is what you got to do to do this, yada, yada, yada. This is how I'm feeling, as opposed to like, this is a video for thousands of people, because thousands of people are going to watch, but the experience, it's only going to be one or two people at a time really experiencing that with you. And that makes those like talking videos so much easier.
Hell yeah.
That's so great.
Okay, last question before we let you get out of here. You've given so much like amazing advice to other creators. If you could give your 18-year-old self, if you could talk to Sam, 18-year-old, what would you say to him? And like, is there a piece of advice that you would give?
Yeah, I'll still hammer the same thing. Just always, always, always make sure you're giving yourself a little bit of time to make a project that you really want to make. Like, it's so easy to just get lost. And like, I can repeat this hundreds of times because there's going to be a couple people that watch this and it's going to click and be like, dude, how? But you know, it's a reminder that I always need, like, I will say it 100 times and I'll say it 100 times more, because it's a reminder that I'm not just saying this for other people, I'm saying it for myself. You're going to get lost, and like life is going to take control, and you have to make sure you're just once or twice a year, you're like, this is a project I really want to make for no other reason than I want to make it. You know, it means something to me. I'm an artist. I want to make this. Just make sure you don't have to do that all the time. You don't have to give up on doing trends. You don't have to give up. Still do whatever you're doing. Fuel whatever you want to fuel, but just make sure once, twice, 3 times a year, it is a muscle that you need to work out. Make something that you really love, and it feels good all the way around. Even if it doesn't perform well, you will have that then moment in your life forever to look back on and just be like, wow, that's where I was at that time. That's really cool. That was an honest film that I made and I was really proud of. You're going to look back and be like, it kind of sucked, or it kind of, but it's like, that was really where I was, and that was really who I was. And so that's just my biggest message to myself 10 years ago, to anybody watching now. It's just, no matter where you are, and that's the cool thing. It doesn't have to be 18-year-old Sam. It could be 40-year-old Sam. It could be 50-year-old Sam. It's just like, keep making once a year something that you're just really, really proud of. And then everything else starts to make a little bit more sense.
I love it.
That was amazing, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can the people find you on social?
Sam Newton, YouTube and Instagram. That's it.
We will link it below. Yeah, seriously. Check out the new films. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to episode 2 of season 2 of the 505 podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a comment down below, and we'll see you guys all next week. Peace.
505, baby.